Good morning, soccer fans, and welcome to the UWS Kickoff Show, powered by Rain Body Fuel. My name is Jonathan, and today I'm excited to have Megan Warner on today's show to talk about her soccer journey, and later on in the show, Danny Kay from Small World Soccer to talk about the recent schedule drops by the UWS. So joining me today live from Kansas, a member of UWS League Two side, Unity FC, Megan Warner. Good morning, Megan. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not doing too bad. It's a good day here in California. The sun still has yet to rise, but I'm awake, and we're gonna make this the best show we can today, and little sleep, right?
Who needs sleep anyways?
That's right. It's overrated. So Megan was born in Watford, England, where was also a part of the Watford FC Academy before coming to the United States to continue her education. She's played for Unity FC, and actually last year, 2020, during COVID, July or August, and you can tell me which of the two, was the first player from the UWS 2 side to actually sign a professional contract. Does that sound correct?
Yes, in July I signed the professional contract to play in Iceland.
Awesome. Well, let's get into some questions, and we'll actually talk a little bit about that journey, because I find it interesting, being that the first player from the UWS 2 side, going to smaller schools and finding an opportunity to play professionally in Iceland. So you grew up across the Atlantic in a country where soccer is life for many. How did you fall in love with the game?
I think I fell in love with the game quite young compared to a lot of people. Just being surrounded by it. A classic story that my family will all know is about the age of 5, I was put into ballet, asked to do a ballet show, and I quickly said to my mom, I don't want to do ballet, I want to play football. And my dad was thrilled, of course. And my family basically became the classic football soccer family. So yeah, my family supported me for everything. My dad even set up like a girls team for me to play on before I got picked up by academies. So yeah, it just grew and became such an important part of our family life.
So I have to assume that your family is huge Watford fans, being that is Watford, England, is where you were born and raised. What was it like playing for the youth academy of the club that you grew up supporting?
Yeah, so it was a really awesome experience. So my first trial for Watford was when I think I was 10 years old, and I didn't make the team, which was obviously something that was really upsetting as a 10-year-old, just want to play for Watford, the team that you've grown up supporting. But at the age of 15 was when I got picked up by the Watford Academy. So for the 5 years, I was playing for a different academy side before transferring over to Watford. And then obviously when I went to Watford, it was amazing because I'm like, wow, I'm playing for the team that I support. I could play my game in the Watford shirt, quick turnaround, drive to the stadium, and watch those players wearing the exact same shirt. And that was just an amazing thing.
I have to ask, did your dad shed a tear when he saw you wearing the kit?
Probably.
So after your time with Watford, you decided to come to the United States and attend school. What was the idea behind that decision? Obviously, playing in the youth academy at Watford, there's opportunities to continue playing in the UK or even in Europe, but you decided to come to America. What was the decision?
I think I always knew I wanted to play in America from a very, very young age. I sort of watched Bend It Like Beckham as a young child, and I really wanted to go across to America to play. I didn't quite know at that age that it would be for the educational purposes as well. But I think as I grew up and realized what life is like, you can't just play football forever. The opportunity in America really combined the two, academics and soccer, in such a perfect way. The English system is very, very different. And I think for me, going out to America was the perfect opportunity to be able to play at a high level where you're training every single day. You've got strength and conditioning staff looking after you, but you're also pursuing a degree. So that was a massive motivation to be able to do the two together.
So I have to ask, on this end, you are still continuing that journey for an education currently in Kansas, trying to obtain an MBA. Why continue the education when there's that opportunity like we talked about in Iceland and maybe more But why the furthering of your education?
For me, I just think it's really, really important. You know, football can only take you so far. At some point in life, you can't play anymore in that high level. There's always opportunity to be involved in the game, which I think is so amazing. But for me, the education is so important because you can't just play football forever, although I'm sure many, many people wish we could.
So you started at Daytona State. Describe that experience for us, because you did end up transferring, and we'll get into that here in a second.
Yes, so Daytona State is a junior college, so I could only play 2 years there. I got picked up by them through my recruiting agency that I was with. And yeah, I got a phone call from the coach, and she was like, it's in Florida, it's on the beach, you can play football every day. We're a brand new program. We're trying to create something big, something like that, a program that we want to immediately take to a high level, which I really, really liked. I really enjoyed being a part of. I was a part of the first inaugural program at Daytona State, which is something that's really, really cool. I was there to set records. My second year, we won the conference. So it's something, you know, that we really did manage to establish a solid program in the 2 years that I was there. And then obviously I had to transfer because I had 2 more years of eligibility, but it was only a junior college. And most of the players on my team were able to transfer out and find a team to play for. And I think that's absolute credit to the coaching staff that are at Daytona State.
So you eventually end up at Weber International University. That's a lot of wording right there. What was the motivation to finish there?
So for me, Weber was a team that was kind of a mid-table team. So I was almost used to being at Daytona State, where we were kind of at the top. So then going to Weber, I really felt like I was able to go in and make an immediate stamp. I could see within their videos and speaking to the coach, like a place for me within that team where I could bring something and help that team. I was quickly named captain at Weber, so I think that kind of was a good statement to myself that I could actually bring that to the team. And yeah, I really enjoyed the culture. When I went on my recruiting visit there, it felt like a home to me, and that's definitely what it was for the 2 years.
So I really appreciate everything the Fords in Florida and Unity FC do for soccer, not just in Florida, but for everyone, with everything they do in terms of making sure that players are booted and suited every match with some Squincher and maybe now Liquid Death. Mm-hmm. How did you become a member of Unity Nation? And more importantly, what is the culture of the club like down there?
Yeah, so 2 of my teammates at Weber were actually the 2 captains at Unity. So it was a perfect in for me, and I'm so grateful that they invited me to come along to a practice that they had. They call the practices, like when they open it to the public, it's a try-in, not a try-out, which I think is such a testimony to Unity because that is the culture that they create. I went to that session and immediately was like, wow, this club is so positive. I just love the atmosphere. The free Squinchers were also great. And yeah, it's just everybody is welcome. Everybody is there and everybody has a purpose on that team. Whether you're on the bench or on the field playing, that's going to switch because everybody is a member of that team and will have an effect on the culture of the team.
So I have to ask, what is your favorite Squincher? The
green one, closely followed by the orange, but they're all honestly really good. I think it might change this summer as I get some more.
I'm a fan of the cherry. I don't know how many people are a fan of the cherry, but it really, like, if you put it over shaved ice with a little bit of water, it's a go-to for hydration for sure.
Apparently they do like ice pops, which I'm yet to try, and I'm definitely intrigued.
Mark, I know you're watching. Ice pops to California would be, I'll take one. So this past year in the late summer, you became the first UWS 2 player to sign a professional contract. What was it like for you personally to put pen to paper on the contract?
Yeah, that was honestly an amazing moment. It was such a build up working with the agent and then going through COVID. It was sort of like, wow, is this going to happen? Am I going to be able to even travel to the country? Are the teams going to still be playing? So that combined with the fact that I was signing my first professional contract was a crazy feeling. And it was very emotional. I remember getting off the phone with my agent when he was like, this team really wants you. I was just crying with my mom. It was really cool.
So you head to Iceland to go play professional soccer. What was it like, and what was it what you have always envisioned of being a professional?
So it was a really amazing experience. It was quite nerve-wracking getting on that flight and going to Iceland, a country that I hadn't been to before. I was going to be living in a very, very small town in the southeast of Iceland. My second university, Weber, was in a small town, but Iceland was a next level small town. But they were all really, really welcoming. I think for me, the two biggest differences of the professional side was the fast pace of the game. Like, those were the quickest games that I was playing in. And the physicality in Iceland is something huge. I play in the midfield, quite small naturally, so it was like a big, tough task for me to compete. But I was surrounded by great players who could push me to do that. So, yeah, it was definitely an amazing experience.
So you've experienced soccer now in 3 different countries. What are some of the similarities and differences that you've experienced?
Biggest similarity is definitely passion for the game in every country that you go to. The girls on my teams have been like, yeah, let's play, like, let's do it, which is awesome. For me, I would like to sum up the countries. I would say like England's more about the ball. America was more about the athleticism, which is something that I definitely had to adapt to going over there. I went over as a striker, but then up against the strikers on the team at Daytona State, my coach was like, you know what, I think you're going to have a better impact within the midfield. So that was something different for me. And then in Iceland, that was definitely the most physical for me. But yeah, all great levels. And it's really, really cool to be able to see different cultures come together as well. So my team in Iceland, I was playing with a Colombian international and a Ghanaian international. And then at Weber, I played with Brazilians. So even though you're playing in different countries and learning their style, you're also able to be exposed to other cultures through the game too.
How excited are you heading into this 2021 season with Unity and UWS 2?
I'm really, really excited to get back with Unity. You know, last year was an interesting one. They did absolutely amazing to get girls together and able to have practice. We were socially distanced and the whole work. So I'm really, really excited to get going again this year and be able to just get games under our belt. And I think everybody is ready for it to start.
So you guys had a practice with a radar gun, and there's rumors out there that you hit 70 miles an hour from the spot. Is that true or false?
They may be still rumors, but I'm working on the 70.
So we're not quite there, or are we over?
Oh, maybe this summer I might be there. I'm working on leg days in the gym, but I think 70 is yet to come, but it's definitely in the works.
Don't skip leg day. Hashtag don't skip leg day. So who do you think your game resembles the most? Obviously, being a striker at one time and now being in the mid, who's your game resembling?
That's a very difficult question. Unity with the confirmation, it was 67. Just shy. We like to round up though. But yeah, I think that's honestly a really difficult question. I feel like I'm quite unique in the sense my upbringing, I have played most every position on the field except for centre back. I think coaches saw my height and were like, okay, that one's definitely not for her. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard question. I'd like to think that I could be like an Iniesta maybe. I heard like I played in a tournament before and then people on the side were like, oh, she's like Iniesta. I was like, I'll take that very happily.
Sign me up. So what is a piece of advice that you'd give to a younger Megan or a younger player who wanted to pursue soccer as a full-time or a full-time opportunity?
Go for it. Go for it. Follow your heart. Live your dream out. That's what my parents always said. Live your dream out. And I kept setting these dreams. Like, I want to play for Watford. Did it. I want to play in America. Did it. I want to play professional. Did it. And that's because I actually went for it and I followed my dreams. And the only reason I would be able to do that is because of the support that they gave me.
And then before I let you go today and get on with your Saturday, because I know it's still early in Kansas, and I appreciate you waking up to take the time to have this conversation. But before I let you go, I have to ask, what does community mean to you?
Community means to me, it's a good question. I guess just happiness coming together, like feeling a part of something, working together, lifting people up. You know, every day when you show up, you might not be feeling 100%, and that's why you have your teammates there to lift you up. And a community is all about when that other person isn't feeling 100%, somebody else is giving that extra bit, and you're all working towards a community goal. Like, you want to be a part of something, and everybody is there to help you feel that.
Megan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk this morning. Just for everybody who's viewing and watching and will watch it again, how can people start or continue to follow your soccer journey?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think one of the best ways to follow me is through my Instagram, which is at Megan Warner __10. Megan _ Warner 10. You can find me on Instagram through John's. But yeah, I would love to have people follow my story, and it's been amazing speaking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And then again, thank you so much for joining us this morning on the UWS Kickoff Show, powered by Rain Body Fuel. Cheers, Megan. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you too.
So most of the summer of 2021 schedules for the UWS have been released, and I'm excited to now have a two-time guest of the show join me to talk about the schedule, along with some matches we have highlighted. Joining me from the road, Mr. Small World Soccer himself, Danny K. Danny, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm a second-time guest. I feel fancy. Also, I didn't know Megan Warner was a Hornet. I didn't know she grew up at Watford. That's my English club. So I wish I had known that previously and gotten to talk Watford with her. But man, that was such a cool interview. You can tell how much soccer means to her. But no, I'm doing great. I'm excited. As you can tell, I'm on the road. Apologies for any road noise. But we're taking all of this down to Georgia, moving out and moving Small World HQ to the Atlanta area for a little bit. So excited about that.
Well, we're cutting out here, but thanks for heading on to today, hanging out with me. I got to ask you, you went to a soccer match last night. What was that experience like, being in the stands for an actual game?
Well, you know, it would have been cooler if we actually, yes, they do rule the world. Thank you, Danny Woodfill. It would have been cooler if they had played it. It got postponed for a lot of this weather that I'm driving through now. So unfortunately, they did not get any of the match in. So I traveled up there, hung out for about an hour and a half to see if they'd play it. Got some great Mexican food, and then they canceled it, and I drove 2.5 hours back down so I could spend one more night in Nashville to drive down to Atlanta. So a lot of driving for not a lot of soccer, but I will say a couple of weeks ago, I got to be at a game in Nashville proper in the same division, and it was weird to watch supporters there and to, obviously we were masked, but outside of that, it felt like normal life again. Like, people were excited and they were cheering and you were there and you felt the atmosphere. I don't know. It was hard to describe. It was a very incredible feeling, and I cannot wait to feel it on a weekly basis.
Yeah, a weekly basis will be really nice when we can get some soccer. But let's talk some summer of 21 as it relates to some UWS schedule. Just a quick little announcement. The only schedule we're still yet to announce is the Southeast Conference, Danny's conference of choice. But we will have that out soon, hopefully, for everybody, and we will have their own show attached to that. So let's start with the West. And the West Conference will be a tight battle. Games start May 18th. Congo Soccer Club hosting newcomer International. Danny, what's your take on this? The newcomers from California heading to Utah. You got any take on that?
Listen, I'm excited about both of those clubs. Obviously, Congo we've seen before, and they've got a lot of quality. But you look at Internacional, and they're whenever you've got an affiliation with a club like that that's less common. Like you see all the, like, you know, Juventus has a youth academy team now, or like Barcelona or somebody. But when you get a team from Brazil, first of all, that means you've got a Brazilian influence, and they just tend to play the game with such with just this finesse that is really unmatched. So I really expect a high level of touches on the ball that maybe other clubs aren't going to be ready for coming out of preseason. I think that's their path to victory in that match and across the season. But man, it's so cool to watch teams with international flavor come in and make the league more engaging and kind of add another component. We were talking to Megan about this, actually. You were asking her about, you know, different cultures that she played in, and seeing different clubs and different players within a club kind of getting to create a culture within one club, not just in the country. It's so exciting to see. So I'm really excited to see what style they play with. It should be two very different teams stylistically. That's going to be a fun one to keep in mind for sure.
So the next game that I had highlighted is May 29th. Troy Flannery, former coach of Foothills WFC. He gets to lead his new club, Impact, up against them in the first Canada Classico. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Man, that's tasty. That is, I'm excited for that one. Obviously, when you're in a country where, you know, it's just those two teams, you know, in your division representing an entire nation, you know, and an entire culture there's a level of, you know, kind of patriotism that comes with that you want to be the team that's the best in your region and in your country. And obviously we know I got to be with Troy Flannery on the first appearance I made on the UWS weekly show, and he was awesome. So obviously he's going to put a lot of effort into that one in particular, because you want to make an impression when you go back to play your old club, whether that's, you know, as a former player or former coach or anything like that. So maybe a little, you know, kind of fun rivalry brewing over there. Maybe we'll see some Portland Thorns, KC-esque kind of action at the end. Who knows?
Oh man, no red cards. No red cards. Just fun games. That's all we want. So International gets their first rivalry game June 27th when they host Santa Clarita Blue Heat. I'm really excited about this matchup, being a California kid. Yes, it's in Southern California and I'm in Northern California, but there's an opportunity to see soccer, and we haven't been able to see a whole lot unless you have media passes to go to USL matches or MLS matches for that matter. California is finally opening up to allow people to attend sporting events. Baseball's crazy because it's $300 a ticket and you have to show vaccination records. Hopefully we don't have that down in SoCal, because I would love to do a live show June 27th down there. But I think that will be a fun one to keep an eye on, especially with Santa Clarita Blue Heat representing what has been the West Conference for some time, being one of those top tier teams. Going up against a new rival in International again on June 27th. But play in the West concludes July 17th when Congo hosts Impact in what I think could be a conference deciding match heading into the national championship July 23rd through 24th or 25th weekend. You know, there's a lot there, and Foss and Troy have had a history against one another as a coach and player, and now as coaches. I'm excited to see what these two gentlemen have in store for shenanigans on the sideline, and maybe Congo goes with 3-inch grass and not 2 like Troy prefers.
Dude, I mean, anything's on the table. It's going to be so much fun to see what they get up to, and obviously the most important part is what they put on the pitch, and you know that they're going to put a really good quality product on that pitch. Both sides are going to be worthy of each other, and that's always fun to see. So, I mean, there's exciting matches in this region for so many reasons. You talk about, you know, having that local opportunity to go see a match in person like I recently did. And then you talk about, you know, the new team in the league with their kind of new flavor, and then you've got, you know, old history with new history with the Canadian Classico, and now, you know, old history between two friends. It's kind of got a little bit of everything. So I'm very excited to see how this one pans out.
So in the Southwest, we have 7 teams, 6 of which are in Texas. This will be, metaphorically, the hot spot of the summer, with the conference kicking off May 8th when Dallas International hosts the newly promoted Central Texas Hornets. The Hive moves up to UWS out of UWS 2, the first club to do so. I'm curious to see how they're able to hold their own coming up, and what that means. Obviously, we expect them to come up and not be able to compete at UWS level, but we're not really sure what UWS 2 has brought as it relates to the league, because it is still relatively new. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
I mean, it's a fantastic question to bring up, and we really won't know the answer until we see them in a full season. This is an incredible experiment for us as fans to say, what really is the difference in quality, between UWS and UWS 2? What is the gulf? And because obviously we expect there to be something of a difference and something of a challenge for Central Texas to move up for the Hornets. But at the same time, they're one of the higher level teams that played in that league last year. And you could tell that they're a club that has aspirations for pretty big things. So I love the move for them. I'm really excited to see them. I've got a couple stickers from them, and we've got a good connection with that club already at Small World. So I'm very excited to see what they put together. And to be honest, I think they'll surprise a few people. I could see them sitting mid-table at the end of the season. I think they've got the talent and they've got the infrastructure within the club, and they've put enough effort into that club being successful to really have a good season this year.
Well, I'm going to bring Megan back because I want to hear Megan's thoughts on this. Megan, I want to ask you, you're a UWS 2 player. Do you think in terms of play that there's a difference between UWS and UWS 2?
I mean, I feel like there probably is in terms of the very, very top of UWS compared to UWS 2. But I think that based on tactics, you can always compete with the team. You might not go out there and try and play that possession-based team and try and beat them that way, but UWS 2 has very intelligent players, very intelligent coaches, and I think that they'll be able to come together and put up a strategy to definitely put up a fight.
Do you think there's a drop-off at any point in there, or can they hang for a full 90?
It would definitely be something to see. It'll be really interesting to see how the Texas team competes. I personally think that they could.
Do you have a take on this result with Central Texas and possibly them being one of the newcomers of the year and challenging these UWS teams like Dallas International, FC Austin Elite, and San Antonio Athenians?
I definitely think that they can hang. I definitely think if they play tactically, and I'm sure they've got players up there who can counter and snag them a goal on the counter attack. So I think it definitely is a team that teams need to watch out for.
Megan, stay close. We're going to keep coming back to you with some feeds. I like that take. Thank you. So this conference, essentially, Danny, could see a team take hold as early as May 15th. San Antonio hosts FC Austin Elite. We know FC Austin Elite really wants to get off on the right foot. They always do. Danny Woodfill doesn't expect anything less than top-tier performances as it relates to results. But the Athenians, talking with Olivier and Nikki a couple of days ago or weeks ago, I feel as though they have some aspirations of their own to really contend for the crown, if not a national championship.
Yes, I could not agree more on both those points. First off, Danny's do rule the world, and yes, it is going to be a beast of a conference. There's so much talent there. There's so many teams that have already proven themselves in that division, and that's rare for really for any lower league soccer team or any lower league, across the country. There's usually not so much consistency in who stays that was already really talented last year. So there's not as much turnover in this conference, and that means we know for a fact that 3, 4, 5 teams deep, there's going to be teams that have title aspirations. So that's so exciting as a fan, and I know as players, that's who you want to play, as well as teams that are good, and you want to have to prove yourself on that kind of stage. Listen, FC Austin Elite is always a title favorite. I love those guys, and they've proven themselves on the pitch. But at the same time, I'm a little bit of a homer for San Antonio. I lived there for almost 6 years growing up, and I did definitely take a look at the schedule when it came out this past week, and looked at where they were playing just because I was curious. And then I just went on this like trip down memory lane on Google Maps with the street view, and like looked at like all these places I had gone in my childhood. Obviously Athenians are cool on the pitch, and I love that they're representing San Antonio off of it. They're not the only San Antonio club now, which is exciting. But I mean, it's that match could very well set the stage for who wins that division and who goes on to compete for the national title. It's that important. Athenians are going to be at that level, and they're going to obviously have to beat Austin to really prove that they are.
Yeah, it's an early matchup, but we'll see. So as the summer goes on, things will only get hotter as the Lone Star Republic plays host to Dallas International on June 13th. They have a friendly banter and friendly rivalry between the two, and I think that will be it will be an interesting event to be a part of if anybody can make it to their June 13th. And then the last weekend of the conference will be huge, though, as all teams play July 9th through the 11th, with Side FC having 2 games that weekend. It could be over early, or it could be going down to that last game on July the 11th. We'll definitely see. Heading out to the Central region, it all begins on May 22nd when the KC Courage plays host to FC Wichita. The game that I'm interested in early on is Gretna hosting the Courage on June 10th. Both clubs will be looking to create some early breathing room as they both share an idea of being hopefuls for playoff spots that will happen later in the summer. What do you think about that June 10th Gretna Courage matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of that Austin Elite Athenians game, except, to another level as far as expectations for winning that division. All roads lead through their opposite number if you're looking at the perspective of those two teams. They're a little bit more comfortably the top 2 in that division for me, for what we know from last year. And I also don't necessarily know that division as well as maybe the Southwest. But for me, that's more than likely going to decide who wins that title. So I think they'll go into that match knowing that's the case. It'll feel like something like Barcelona, Real Madrid, where and not this year because Atletico's doing well. But generally you expect that clash to have title implications. And obviously we never know. In lower league soccer, all across the board, you never know how things are going to pan out, and that's why we love it. But at the same time, I'd be surprised if it wasn't one of those two clubs who won the title. And so for that reason alone, that could be the match of the year from that conference.
So I think the Springfield Demise may have a say in that early battle as well, because they have a home and away fixture against Gretna on June 12th and the 19th. The crazy thing about this is I think Demise, we always hear about Gretna. We see them on social media, the Courage on social media. The Demise aren't as strong on the social media presence, and so we don't know a whole lot about what they're doing in the buildup. So I think they could essentially have a say in who wins that conference on June 12th and 19th with their home and away against Gretna. So then the Central Conference concludes July 10th with FC Wichita hosting Gretna, who will play 2 games in 3 days within that July 10th window. So the season itself could conclude early. It could go to that last weekend. I'm hoping that all conferences go to that last weekend, because then we have pandemonium and a lot of scheduling that we have to think of as it relates to a live show and live updates at tables, which could be fun. So the Midwest, talk about rivalries in limited space. The Midwest Conference is split into 2 divisions, but there's so much more to play for here. A lot of these teams and players know each other very well, and bragging rights are just a little of what is at stake as the conference kicks off May 8th and 9th with 3 games to get us started. One of the first matches that I'm interested in is Lansing United as they look to maintain an almost flawless league record. It travels to Midwest United on May 8th. And then the next day sees newcomers, Lady Steel host fellow newcomers, Chicago Kicks. And then finally, rounding out the weekend, Corktown AFC begins its season against the Risers of Muskogee. So what are your thoughts on that opening weekend of Midwest soccer?
Dude, where do you start? I mean, this is an incredibly deep lineup of clubs that you said it's pertinent because a lot of these players are probably coming from the same schools, maybe even the same high schools. The Midwest is chock full on both the women's and the men's side of soccer, with just a great level of talent. And there's so many players that come out of that region. And the cool thing that comes out of that is there's not just a quality on the pitch, but there's a pertinence to every single game because you've got players who know each other, who have grown up in that area, and there's a lot of kind of territorial bragging rights on the line. So, I mean, it's just match after match after match all season long. There's so much of a kind of Chicago flavor that defines that conference, but at the same time, it's really all over the Midwest. And you look at the other side of the division, and you've got, Lansing and teams like that. It's almost overwhelming. And you talk about decision day, like live, who's going to do what. That's a conference that I fully expect to go down to the wire in some shape or form, because there's just so much talent there. And for me, in preseason, that's probably the one conference that I would hate to have to predict the most.
Megan, I'm bringing you back here. I want to know what your take is on this. How important are rivalries to the game, and even playing against former teammates, former college mates, and academy mates? How does that build your game up and get you ready or juiced for that matchup?
Yeah, it's definitely something different. You can easily let emotions come in too much in those games. It's very important to stay focused, okay? While you have a history with them and the game means a lot, stay focused on the outcome, get the job done. They're definitely high intense matches, and it's important to make sure that you stay focused on the task and you don't let your emotions get the better of you. But those are some of the best matches to be playing in for sure.
Have you had any of those matches where you've gone up against a former teammate and you've had to either endure the bragging on their end, or you get to kind of needle them a bit?
Yes, so my best friend and I actually, we transferred out of Daytona State and went to two teams both in the Sun Conference and had to face each other. She was playing center back and I was playing attacking mid, so our positions kind of collided a lot. And she did a slide tackle on me. Her team ended up winning 4-3, but I scored a goal. So it was like, okay, every time she said, "We beat you," I said, "Yeah, but I scored on you."
Fair enough. All right, Megan, stay tight. We're gonna keep coming back to you for these little shots. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Danny, the matchup that has me excited is the May 26th matchup. Corktown hosting Detroit City FC at Corner Ballpark. You get a little bit of that baseball story, that nostalgia at Corktown. But then this could also be an early indication of things to come when these two teams meet for the first time this season. I'm excited just to potentially be a fly on the wall for the halftime conversation. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, here's the thing. Detroit City's success is going to have a lot to do with the rest of the league. I mean, there's a lot of question marks and a lot of teams that are very even on the pitch. But Detroit, I mean, they're the type of organization that could just bring a product on the field that takes all comers and just dominates. So it's hard to know. It's obviously new for them to have a UWS side on the pitch. Obviously, we've known they were a part of the league for a year now, but their success level is going to have a lot to do with how competitive this league is. So, I mean, you look at them playing against Corktown in Corktown's home venue at that baseball stadium, and it's that's going to be a big one. Corktown, obviously a team that'll have title aspirations. They're going to want to prove themselves, and I think they can do it, but we're about to see exactly how much quality this Detroit City side has. I'm very excited to see what they put on the field.
So the last weekend is going to be the make or break weekend for the two divisions with 4 games, July 10th through 11th. You have Detroit City hosting Lansing, which could possibly be the deciding game for the North Division. That happens on July 10th. And then MSC Peoria playing 2-2 that same weekend. All is on the line in the last weekend in the North and South of the Midwest Conference. It should be a hot one up there in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Go for it.
If I'm Peoria, I don't love that scheduling for those last two. I mean, you want to feel like you have more points going into that final weekend. You don't want to have to kind of try and play catch up. Obviously, if you deliver on the field, it won't matter. But I especially feel for them on that one. What a fun weekend that'll be.
Bring Megan back now as I have a question. So Megan, playing back-to-back games, how difficult is it to be ready, physically and mentally for games that happen back-to-back?
Yeah, physically, it's a lot on the body. You really have to look into the depth of your squad and know that the rotation of players is absolutely key. There's no way you're going to start with the same 11 and last 90 minutes for back-to-back games. It's just not possible. Physical-wise, like ice baths and nutrition are going to be your best friend in order to get you best prepared. And mentally, it's tough because these two teams that you face could be completely different matchups. You could be facing one team that is a possession-based team and then another team that likes to sit back and counter. And how do you quickly adapt to then be facing a different side of teams? So mentally, it takes a lot of focus in that sense to know what you're coming up against and execute the game plan specifically for that game.
Awesome, Megan. Going to keep coming back to you for takes. In fact, I think the last take I'm going to have is your hot seat. So hang out. We'll get back to you in a minute here.
Awesome.
So the Eastern Conference begins May 15th. The 13-team Eastern Conference will kick off, and this is filled with some heavy hitters. So you have 4 matches that make up the opening weekend of action, and the game that I have circled is the Lancers of Rochester hosting FC Buffalo. Let's talk about just instant rivalry, right? The newcomers, FC Buffalo, moves in just into the territory of Rochester. They're the new kid on the block, FC Buffalo is, but they have a bit of swagger, and I think they have a point to prove to their neighbors, along with the rest of the league. And I feel as though this could be a statement game for FC Buffalo. What's your take on that, Danny?
I agree wholeheartedly. And the other thing to remember about Buffalo is on their men's side, they've developed a real following. They have seen Buffalo in a way that really outside of maybe Detroit and Chattanooga, that it's unmatched. So there's a really exciting fan base around that club. And so for Rochester's perspective, they're going to have, a Buffalo come in and expect to, bring in a lot of fans and to really run the table. Buffalo is accustomed to nothing but success. So this is not a moment where, you're a brand new team and you expect to just, we're happy to be here and just kind of compete. Buffalo wants to win that league. I guarantee you that, and their fans expect that too. And Rochester is not going to lie down for the brand new team and let them take their home turf that easily. So, I mean, there's so much on the line just off the field, and then you go onto the field and how important that could be for title hopes. There's a lot there in that matchup that's going to make that one fun. I wish I lived in that area and could catch that one in person. If there was one that I could just teleport myself to, it might be that one.
So May 30th, Lancaster Inferno host and New Jersey Copa. They're both OGs, and neither of these clubs want to lose. I don't think they want to draw either. I think this is the one that you don't want to miss because somebody's going to be upset and somebody's going to be trying to console the other from having to cry a little bit, I think.
Tears may be shed. We don't know. Listen, I'm high on Inferno this year. I really like where it feels like they've been headed, off the field, the social media. They've engaged. Obviously, they've got a really cool looking new logo and things like that. They're doing all the right things off the field, and I haven't been able to see, what they're training on the field. Obviously, I have no idea, what their preparations look like. But in my experience, when you look at a club that's making steps forward off the pitch, and you can see that visibly, that only speaks good things for what they're doing on the pitch too. That you can't I there? Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
I'm gonna bring on Megan real quick. Danny, I'm gonna bring on Megan real quick. Megan, how important is social media engagement to get followers and even to get a team maybe to that next level mentally, so that they're playing at a higher level?
Yeah, I think social media is becoming increasingly important. Creating that fan base is awesome. You know, we've got at Unity, we have so many fans from my home country, England, and that just means that it's extra motivation when you play. You know, you've got these people watching you, and it just creates more of a hype. It feels more of a big thing to be playing for Unity, knowing that you've got fans all around the world, and I'm sure it's the same for other clubs. It's an honor to be able to play for these clubs that have massive followings, and that just hypes you up and gets you more prepared to give it your all in your games.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate the take. So Danny, sorry I brought her on. We had some you're hitting dead space there, but so June 5th, literally the OGs of UWS collide when the Mutiny of New England hosts New Jersey Copa, who could be on a higher low depending on their previous results and looking to keep ground early in the season. What do you think about that matchup?
I'm excited for a lot of the same reasons. I don't know how much you heard of my last reasons. Oh yeah, thanks guys. Really excited for y'all for the Inferno. But I mean, you just mentioned, 3 OGs of this entire league sitting in the same region. It's going to be so much fun to see what these teams can come up with when there's new blood that's really talented. It's not like you can just parlay that experience into instant success. There are teams that really want to take that crown from them early and often. So they're going to have to be at their top level. Those games that they play against each other, teams they know, they'll be especially important. They'll be at a premium for that reason. Also, apologies for any time I'm cutting out here. I'm driving through very rural Tennessee, and I don't think they know what cell service is. So we're not sure. But yeah, I'm very excited about this region. So many OG teams. It's gonna be fun to watch.
So June 25th through 27th, there's 9 matches being played in what could be the deciding weekend for the conference. The games that I think are going to be huge, the game that I think is huge is going to be the Fusion, Connecticut Fusion hosting the Scorpions Soccer Club, which will be an opportunity for Scorpions to showcase themselves against a seasoned Fusion club. This is important to me because I actually may be in Boston that weekend because it's the first visit the Yankees will make to my precious Red Sox in 2021. So I'm really looking forward to that weekend because, one, if you're not familiar, the Mewis sisters were grown in that Scorpions program. It has a rich history with a lot of names and championships to its in its cabinet. And I think that we don't hear much from them during this during the off season, but I think that they're going to be more of they're going to show you what they can do as opposed to tell you what they're going to do.
Listen, I love that strategy. I don't know much about them, but that's how I'd go about it. I would let the on-field talent do the talking, and it looks like that's what they want to do.
So the conference regular season concludes the weekend of July 10th through the 11th. 7 matches being played that weekend. The Long Island Rough Riders playing 2 difficult matches against the Mutiny away before finishing their regular season hosting Lancaster Inferno, which will finish the Eastern Conference. Danny, what do you think on that Eastern Conference ending weekend?
I mean, for a lot of the same reasons as other ones, there's so much riding on that last weekend. You talk about the Rough Riders. I mean, you just keep bringing names up to my attention that I'm like, oh yeah, they could win the division. Oh yeah, they could win the division too. There's too many good teams. It's not fair, Jonathan. It's so much fun. As a fan, I'm so excited. It's exciting for me to learn a lot about these teams that I know in name, but not necessarily in style. And I mean, just roulette wheel, take your pick of who's going to win. There's so many good teams out there. New teams that are going to challenge, old teams that have been there that are going to continue to be good. I don't know, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. UWS is a deep league this year, and there's going to be a lot of talent on the field.
Well, Danny, I look forward to having more of these conversations about this schedule, and hopefully with the Southeast Conference schedule being released here soon. Hey, man, I'm gonna let you get back to. Let you get back to keeping your hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, and let you listen to some quality stuff, man. Have a good rest of the day. Drive safe, and we will be talking soon.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for bearing with me. It was awesome being with you guys, even in weird circumstances. Excited for this UWS season, man.
Have a good one, man.
You too.
This wouldn't be a kickoff show without some hot seat questions. We've given Megan the opportunity to kind of cool off a little bit on the side. So we're gonna bring her on, and we're gonna get some takes that were dropped in from fans over the last few hours. So Megan, welcome back to the show. Thank you for staying on and providing insight. As Danny and I were talking the schedule, it was really nice to hear some other insight other than our own.
Yeah, of course.
Let's get into some hot seat questions. These questions are thrown at us from fans in the direct messages, in the DMs. So let's get into it. The first one that I have is, what is your go-to? What would you prefer, fish and chips or burgers and fries?
Ooh. Classic fish and chips. You can't beat the chips from a fish and chip shop.
If you could play soccer with any player from the history of the game, who would it be and why?
For me, it would be Karen Carney. Growing up, that was my female idol. I remember her scoring a goal in, I think it was a Euros competition as I was very young, and that kind of sparked me. And I would wear her jerseys, and it would just be an honor to be able to be on the field with her.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Happy. Happy and involved in football. Maybe, hopefully still playing. Maybe I'll be coaching at that point. Who knows where life will take me, but I know it's going to be an adventure.
What's your greatest accomplishment to date?
I think it would have to be that signing the professional contract. You know, it's such a massive moment that every kid dreams of who plays soccer. So,
what is your least favorite endurance test in soccer?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go for the yo-yo intermittent test. That every soccer player knows, that recorded voice, it will give you nightmares.
It just sticks in the. You talking about it, I just hear the voice in the back of my head, and I'm like, oh man, why did you even go there? Outside of soccer, what's your favorite sport?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. This is a real hot seat question. I'm feeling the pressure. I'm just gonna go for the athletics, like track and field. I love that whole environment. The events on the track are great. So, shout out to the Olympics. I love that season.
Outside of Unity and Watford, who is your what team do you keep a close eye on?
Ooh, okay, I'm definitely diehard Watford, but as we have dropped out of the Premier League, although it breaks my heart to say that on a live show, definitely means I'm following the Premier League, and so top team from there. I'm going to go with Tottenham right now based on when I watched the documentary. Game changer. Like, Jose Mourinho came across so well on that show. If you haven't watched it, definitely recommend it. But to be honest, I'm definitely Team Unity and Watford, and every other team I enjoyed the playing, but it's Watford and Unity all the way for me.
What was the last dessert that you enjoyed?
Ooh. Last dessert. I can't even think of. Oh, I know. I honestly think it may have been since Christmas, but we had this croissant with whipped cream and berries and chocolate chips, and you pulled it apart, and that was great.
Most embarrassing soccer memory. I'm sure you've had a few, but what's that one that just sticks with you that makes you grind your teeth at night?
Most embarrassing soccer memory. Oh, that's hard. I've had it. This one is quite unique. I've had it in a game where I'm running along with somebody chasing a ball. So neither of us are on the ball. We're both chasing. And my shoelace got stuck in the bottom of their stud, and then we both fell. Nowhere near the ball. Like, we're chasing after the ball and just both gone.
It's called a ghost hole. What song gets you hyped up for a match?
Okay, it's called Z Cars, and it's played before Watford games, and that song, it hits next level. Highly recommend.
All right. I'm sure that will be blaring on the speakers this year for Unity matches. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Peter Pan. It's got to be Disney.
If you could add a spirit animal, what would that spirit animal be?
It's a good question. I'm going to go for a dolphin.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles, especially if they're Mickey shaped.
What topping does not belong on a pizza?
Cheese. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't like cheese. I'll take the vegan cheese, but I honestly would just rather the dough with the bread, with the tomato sauce on it. I'm not a cheese kind of gal.
All right. Do you have a pregame ritual?
Honestly, I don't think I have like a major pregame ritual. I always like to get out on the field early, juggle to myself before I start going with other people. I kind of started to make sure before practices and before games that I hit 100 like ball juggling count, and that's kind of stuck with me. So maybe that, but I'm not super big on superstitions.
What's your favorite soccer boot?
Nike, the actual, no longer continue them, but Nike Magistas back in the day, they were the ones.
Who plays you in a movie?
Ooh. I fancy just playing myself, honestly. I think that would be really fun.
Fair enough.
Let's just go with that.
And before I let you go, what is your favorite soccer memory?
I'm going to go, there's so many. I've played on some absolutely amazing teams, but I'm going to go with senior day, my collegiate year. That was an amazing day. Both my parents flew out and were there to walk me out, and I scored on senior day, so that all around was just an amazing, incredible day surrounded by amazing people.
Megan, I really enjoyed having you on the show this morning. I enjoyed our conversation. I hope you felt the same. I look forward to more of these conversations, seeing you in a Unity kit this year, and hopefully many more memories in the professional world as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, you too.
So thank you so much this morning. Special thank you to you guys for tuning in to us this morning to watch the UWS Kickoff Show. And a special thanks to Megan Warner and Danny from Small World for joining me as well. This week, UWS Weekly will be coming at you live Tuesday with Lancaster Inferno joining the show. So until Tuesday, cheers everyone and enjoy your Saturday.